to the Nightcap. It's your girl, Carolina Sanchez, and I'm getting cozy, baby, because I have the director, Joseph Kahn, who you may know from some cult classics or some amazing music videos with Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Britney Spears, Eminem. Should I name any more? I don't think so. And the star, Brandon Routh. You know him as the Man of Steel or Ray Palmer himself, among other roles. They're coming here because they have a new film out called Ick. Let me take a look. Oh no. Let's get into it.
Yeah, what's up for a Nightcap? Chill, you know, kick back.
10 songs. I put all our favorites on it.
Promise me you'll take me with you to the NFL, to a giant mansion with a giant pool that has a fat hot tub that's connected to the giant pool so I can swim from Montico whenever I want.
Yes. I love you, Stacy.
Just takes a second.
Did you see Charlie's TikTok about how the egg is pure gluten?
What's gluten? The egg is just franken-food GMO set free from Monsanto lab. That's why I only eat organic.
Mr. Wallace, why aren't we talking about the ick?
Okay, Grace. Let's talk about the Ick.
Let's talk about the Ick.
Yeah.
We've got director Joseph Kahn here, and we've got the lead actor, Brandon Routh. You know them individually. I've introduced them already, but baby, let's talk about the Ick.
Yeah, let's talk about the Ick.
So, I've only seen half of it, apparently. I really thought I had gotten much further into it. And the way it pulls at nostalgia as a millennial, the way it brings in that Gen Z vibe. We've done a show on millennials versus Gen Z, so it's fascinating to put them in a universe together. And then the soundtrack. I mean, it's so much that you love watching it as a horror fan, a comedy fan, an action fan. What was the inspiration for this, Joseph?
Horror today is in a weird place. In that, if you're a young kid and you want to watch a horror film, like, you're going straight into the most disgusting stuff possible. It's like bodies being ripped apart and just grotesque stuff. Like, where's the starter horror? Like, remember,
Starter horror.
back in the 80s, we had movies like Gremlins, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, and there used to be movies like The Blob or Frankenstein and Godzilla. Now, these were scary movies, but they weren't so scary, they scarred you. Like, you could still go to sleep at night. You could look at the pictures of the monster, and they were just fun. They were more fun than they were gross or disgusting or terrifying on a certain level.
Right.
So I wanted to make a movie for that, for the kids, for the adults. That's something that you could relax you. It scares you to a point where it's there, but it's not disturbing.
Right.
And I don't know why that movie isn't made, so I decided to make it.
You decided to make this, and hearing to some of your past interviews, you said you came up with this years and years ago before the term ick even became a thing.
Yeah, I just remember the word icky just meant gross. And so I wrote this back in 2017, 2018. And then as I made it, literally as we were making the movie, it turned into a viral meme about relationships.
Right.
That was accidental.
Accidental, but I feel like it still kind of weaves its way in, right? Yeah. So, Brandon, taking this on, this is a whole new genre, I feel like, for you.
Yeah, in a way. I've done another horror comedy, monster movie, Dylan Dog, more than 10 years ago now. But that was more of these are different movies, but comedy is the through line, and that's why one of the big reasons I wanted to be a part of this, because horror is not a first love of mine, but I love the storytelling that can be done through the comedy of fighting for your life. And, you know, anytime you have these two huge things that are juxtaposed, you know, terror and fighting for your life, but making it somehow humorous as a way to get through it or to combat the darkness that we all, you know, kind of experience in life is so important. But if you add levity to it, then it makes it a different thing. And such a great journey for Hank, my character, because he's the anti-hero. He's the guy who's, you know, he thought his career was going to be that he got Superman, but as if I never got Superman, and then went on to just, you know, exist as Hank and become a science teacher.
I feel like, you know, life really tends to hit us hard. You know, we think that we're gonna reach this level of clarity at some point in our lives, but it's just like we're constantly learning, constantly getting kicked down.
Hopefully.
And I feel like Hank, hopefully, and Hank, you know, he had these delusions of grandeur, then the ick ruins his career, and then he's having to like figure out his life with, I mean, I don't know how much of a spoiler it is, like with his family.
Yeah, well, Hank is blaming the ick for his creating a sports injury and whatnot. But the fact is that Hank didn't take care of himself in high school. He was a little bit reckless, and also part of the reason why maybe he got injured. But when we're young, we can't look back as easily and take responsibility for our part in how we show up or haven't showed up in our lives. And whether we like it or not, we are responsible for the path that led us here to a huge degree, much more than we as humans kind of allow ourselves to be.
Accountability is really hard.
It's hard. It takes a lot of empathy and self-love to kind of heal from your mistakes. But Hank hasn't had the opportunity to do that. He's just blaming other things. It finally comes to a point in his life where, you know, his breaking point, and he has a shift, and it's coincides with the ick starting to animate, starting to move, and with Grace, one of his students, who he has kind of suspected might be his daughter for various reasons that we learn about in the movie. And so he goes on this journey and sees that he has to invest in his life. You know, he had to take a more active role in where he wanted to go in his life. And Ick actually, you know, that challenge
Actually
gets
forced
him moving again.
Forced him to do it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk more about Ick the movie after the break. You stay right there. Welcome back to the Nightcap. We're discussing a new comedy horror film, Ick. We've got the director, Joseph Kahn, and we've got actor Brandon Routh, not Ruth, like I rudely said time and time again here.
How would one know? It's widely mispronounced.
Widely mispronounced.
Because there are some Rouths who pronounce it Ruth.
Ruth.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, let's talk about the Ick. What exactly is the Ick, Joseph?
Well, I will tell you, in the movie, it's never really explained. But I did that on purpose.
Okay.
Because it's ultimately a metaphor. Most monster movies are about something. You know, Godzilla was about the atom bomb. You would say King Kong is the fear of primitive, you know, like whatever you want to consider that at that time, you know. Dracula, you know, like it's a foreign guy that runs around in a suit and then basically screws your wife, you know.
Right.
So the fear of the foreigner,
yes.
right, you know. But the Ick itself is a question that I had, like, what is the monster today, right? But here's the big difference. Back then, people were asking, what if the monster came to your town? We have seen the monster come to our town. We have seen 9/11 happen. We've seen COVID happen. We've seen all these crazy things. We've actually seen the monster come into town. And you know what ends up happening? For a couple weeks, everyone freaks out, and then life goes back to normal. Now, that might be either a sign of incredible stupidity, or it might be a sign of human resistance. You know, it's survival instincts. Is there a difference between the two? I don't know. You know, I'm not answering that particular question. I'm just asking questions.
You're asking the questions.
So the Ick is a simulation of the monster coming to town, whatever monster it is, and seeing how the world reacts to it. And you know one of the funny things I've kind of discovered as I made this particular movie? The monster back in the 50s would create this sort of environment where people bonded together to fight off the monster. Remember that, right?
Right.
What happens when the monster comes into our town now? People argue. People split apart. People get tribal. People go off into their own political factions. And that's what happens in the Ick too.
I mean, yeah, you see the disagreement over the Ick, like whether we address it or we don't throughout the film. Well, through the portion that I saw in the film.
Yeah.
The Ick, I think we're constantly defining what the Ick is. I think we define what it is, because it's different things for different people. That's why it exists. We can't all agree on what is Ick and what is not. What is for humans and what is not. What is love, what is not. What is being an American, what is not being an American. What makes this, what makes that. And we divide, we're trying to segment out and separate each other so much. we don't need to become the same organism. We don't all need to become Ick, but we do have to understand that we're made of the same thing.
Having said that, the Ick is scary. It
The
infects
Ick
you.
is scary.
Yes, I go
Yeah, I don't know, as you should.
But that's
I
what
mean,
the cool thing for Journey is for me, is that the movie is incredibly entertaining.
It's funny, I wrote the Ick before the Ick
Right.
turned into the current meme.
Right.
Because Ick back, you know, in my
Cooties,
days, it was
germs.
cooties, it was just icky. It just meant, like, it didn't mean things you don't like about dudes. You know?
Yeah. So in the film, is Hank just undateable? Is that what it is? Is he going? Is he getting the?
I
the
think
given
the
the
fun thing about the Hank character,
Uh-huh.
if I may, is
Of course you may.
He's an incredibly beautiful man, obviously. Look at the goods.
Obviously,
Okay.
absolutely.
But there's something undateable about him because he's pitying himself. His leg broke, the life passed him on, and that man is still stuck in the past. He's still in the year 2000s, where he had his heyday, and he still pines over the same girl, listens to the same music, and cannot move ahead. And you know guys like this. Yeah.
Oh no, we need to dive into that because I do feel like so many people suffer from just living in the past. All right, you stay right there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nightcap. We've been discussing the new film Ick. We've got Joseph and Brandon in the building. All right, we were just discussing being stuck in the past. And yes, there's so many people who like look back to their high school days and are like, that was the best time ever. And they may still maintain relationships only from or friendships from that time. And they don't tend to move forward. So Brandon, when you were approaching this character and trying to get into like the jock who didn't actually make it to the NFL, how was it trying to tap into that, which a lot of people can identify with?
Yeah, it was a little challenging at first for me, and I was having a hard time with it until I realized that I feel sorry for myself more than I realized.
This is getting sad.
No, but like this is the work of an actor. I'm like, but it's like, because I kept judging Hank. I was like, well, but I had success. How can I? And he's kind of like, he's not mean, but he's like kind of like a bummer sometimes, and he was just like complaining all the time. I was like, why is he complaining all the time? And I was kind of like, and I thought, you know, well, I kind of complain all the time. There's part of me, and you know, I think my growth as a person and as an actor, and it grows with my ability to feel my own sadness and my own depth, the experience of life and all that. So, like, you know, the longer you live, you either learn from your challenges or try to cover them up and just remember the past.
And that's
as I'm doing that, I judged Hank about that, but I realized that I have a place where I can play in him of that woe is me feeling that I do have, whether it's in my current adult life or when I was a kid, when I had setbacks as a teenager, when I had loneliness as a teenager, because I didn't have friends, even though I looked like. I didn't have a good social experience in middle school and high school. So that's a place where, you know, Hank kind of came from that.
Did you have any exes that you were like pining over for way too long?
Yes, yeah, but and mostly like girls that I liked in elementary, high school, middle school that never, you know,
never batted an eye at you?
Yeah, or at least I was too nervous and to even approach.
Yeah. Joseph, what about you?
About me?
Yeah.
Relationships?
Yeah.
I'm a nerd. I barely had any.
So, I mean, so did you have somebody that you pined over for way too long?
I pined over so many girls. They're more pinings than they're actual relationships. But you know what? I will say this. Life is what it is, and you end up with what you should have. And I ended up with the perfect woman. And I have a great family. And it makes it, in retrospect, when you're like a little teenager or in your 20s or in your 30s and you pine over these girls that you can't have, right? You look back after you reach a certain level of success, and success doesn't even mean monetary. It means you have a family. And what you realize at the end of the day, what you care about more than anything are your daughters. Your family, the mother of your kids.
Well, speaking of daughters, Brandon, the character Hank, has like a maybe she's my daughter, maybe she's not my daughter situation with Grace. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes, Grace, played by Melina Weissman. Incredibly talented, funny, lovely actress. We meet Hank and Grace kind of in science class and quickly learn that Hank was the boyfriend of Grace's mom back in high school. He realizes that the date makes sense, that maybe he could have actually have fathered her.
And you brought up Mina, and Mina we thought was such a brilliant casting for this role because those of us millennials who grew up with these teenage films and seeing her as the star of so many of them, was that intentional?
Oh yeah. So the casting is kind of, I think, pretty clever, if I say so myself.
Come on, baby, give yourself those flowers.
Because first, the hero Hank has to be essentially a guy that's a superhero, but doesn't get to do superhero things.
Man of Steel himself.
Because it's Superman with a broken leg. You know, I broke his leg. He cannot fly anymore, right?
Oh, no.
Then he pines over a girl for the 2000s. Now, if you're going to pine over a girl for the 2000s, the audience has to feel like this is a girl worth pining over for 25 years.
Yeah.
So who do you pine over in the 2000s? What possible girl is the it girl of the 2000s? Well, they made a movie about her, and the movie's called American Beauty, and she's literally on the poster.
Yeah,
she's laying
on
those
a
bed of flowers.
bed of roses. Yeah.
So you're pining over Mina Suvari if you're thinking about the 2000s. So I was actually looking for a bunch of actresses like Mina Suvari because I didn't think I was going to get Mina Suvari. And then eventually, actually, Mina Suvari actually said yes. It was an incredible stroke of luck.
Wow.
So now it's literally the perfect casting. I got the perfect male,
You
the
got
perfect
Superman,
female.
and you got the American Beauty together.
I mean, it's a win, right? So we're American. So.
All right, what I do want to talk about after the break is, you know, the Gen Z versus millennial of it all, because I feel like Gen Z was so woke in this movie. All right, you stay right there. We'll be right back with Joseph and Brandon. Welcome back to the Nightcap. We're sitting down with Joseph Kahn and Brandon Routh about the film Ick, which is out for 3 days starting July 27th through July 29th. So you better head to the theater. I'm going to smack you, okay?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful comedy horror film that has Gen Z and millennials basically pit against each other, I feel like. And Gen Z, watching them be high schoolers, especially someone who consumes so many high school movies, they're so f***ing woke. Like, how did you develop Gen Z?
Well, look, I'm, as a music video director, I've been doing videos for 35 years, and I've seen turnovers of different generations. Literally, I started watching baby boomers turn into Xers, Xers turn into millennials, millennials turn into Gen Z, and now Gen Zs are about to turn into Gen A, you know? And I've seen this sort of flip that's been happening in culturally and everything. And the story is about a guy that lived in the 2000s and ended up in his hometown still pining and trying to live like in the 2000s. So it is an exaggeration. That's the comedy part of this. If you're looking at Gen Z from a millennial perspective, they are incredibly woke. You know, it almost feels like a different planet that they're on. First, it makes fun of Gen Z, but it also makes fun of Gen X and and millennials. Like it fires in all directions. It's a satire,
right?
You know?
Right.
And people used to complain about millennials all the time, and saying that they're like completely ridiculous and vapid. And they said the same thing about Gen X. They said the same thing about the boomers.
Yep.
And if anything, that is the collection of things that make us young.
The honest answer, I think, for me is that we just have to do better at listening to each other and learning. Everybody's got their points and positivity, and we gotta like come together, all age groups.
I think that's a great point. As much as there's a whole thing in the movie that's making fun of Gen Z, the real criticism is the previous generation, the millennials and the older ones, because they've been living with the ick for the whole time. What do they do about it? Nothing. You know, and now the kids have to deal with it.
All right, before we go, what is your biggest ick?
Oh, I got two of them. I guess kind of like not washing your hands in the bathroom, but there's a bigger one.
Actually, when people crowd the baggage claim conveyor belt, if we all just, please, if we all just like 3 or 4 feet, just 3 or 4 feet, we can all see the bags. We don't have to fight. I don't have to say, excuse me, person who's been standing there for 5 minutes waiting for the bag, and mine comes out right away. And I'm, it's all right.
I love it. Joseph.
All right, so my biggest ick has to be something about something I love.
Okay.
And what I love are movies.
Okay.
And my big ick in movies today is that they're all so damn political. Okay.
Oh!
And that throws me off movies like crazy. Politics is complicated. History is complicated. In 2 hours, you're not going to solve the world.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make people feel something, but you can't tell me that you're giving me the answers to all these complicated things in an hour and a half. For me, it's a fun ride. Turn your brain off, go in there. You're going to have a simulation of life, and it's going to have ups and downs. You're not going to walk out of it going, I know the answer to anything, but you're going to say, I had a good time questioning, though.
They might come out with the answer, though.
They might.
They might.
So there's some smart audiences out there, but it's on me. I'm not that guy.
You're not that guy, but you pose the right questions. Brandon and Joseph, thank you so much for coming on the Nightcap. Y'all at home, you better go watch Ick, July 27th through July 29th. Get your whole family to go. This is a horror film, a comedy horror film that, baby, the whole family can enjoy. All right, cheers to you. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.